Hey everybody, it's Benjamin here at the scentaurfragrance channel. Thank you so much for stopping by once again here at the scentaurfragrance channel. You know that we talk about fragrances, colognes, perfumes, and all things scent related. So thank you so much for stopping by today. We're going to be talking about none other than Tabac Tabou from the house of Parfum d'Empire. Now this is a fantastic fragrance. Before we talk about it, below, please help me out. Like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share the video, and when you hit notifications, hit all notifications so you never miss out on my regular content. Let's talk about this beautiful fragrance. First off, this fragrance is going to trick you, and it's going to trick you big time like I did, and like it did for me. This fragrance is a beautiful tobacco fragrance. It has incense. It has immortelle. Those are some of the big notes to this fragrance. It has some leather, and I'm definitely going to break it down for you. First off, this is more of a fresh, tobacco. More of a green tobacco, maybe a little bit more on the wet side. I have some sprayed on my hand here. I've been testing it today. It is a wonderful fragrance. It smells beautiful. There's a little bit of that, like honey in the background as well. Honey really adds to the leather, adds a little bit of sweetness, adds a little bit of a reserved nature, and the leather and the honey somehow are very playful in this composition and really tricked my nose. At first, I thought I was smelling a fresh, almost like a santal, amber, like a santal take. I know that means sandalwood, but there's some fragrances I've smelled that play around and have this very fresh, almost floral amber to the fragrance. Kind of like Amber del Sur by Carner Barcelona. Anyways, it's a very, very nice fragrance, but it really doesn't have any amber to it. It really deceived my nose. Also, it did that because there's some incense to this fragrance. Immortelle also can have an incense-like quality to this fragrance, but it really deceived my nose. This fragrance is a beautiful tobacco fragrance. It smells exotic. The tobacco doesn't overwhelm the composition. To my nose, it's mostly all about the immortelle and the honey and the leather in the background. Then even more in the background, there is this tiny hint to my nose of something animalic. Animalic is not a note listed in the fragrance. Animalics are not talked about in the fragrance and its composition at all. But to my nose, there is no doubt about it that there is something very, very slightly on the animalic side. It's not overtly done. This isn't a skanky fragrance. It's not scary. It just has that little pinch of something indolic kind of in the fragrance. So it's a very nice one. This fragrance, to me, if I was to talk about its style, I would say it's retro. It doesn't exactly smell old, but it doesn't exactly smell new. It's somewhere in between. It uses more of a vintage style, but yet is modernly sensible to the modern nose. It's understandable, and it's very likable. This actually is a very sensual fragrance. I do think that it leans more on, maybe the vintage side of things, maybe for the more mature crowd, but it's very nice. It's very well done. If you've been looking for immortelle fragrance, this is one of the better ones that I've ever smelled. Immortelle is not a common note, and actually for the price of this fragrance, it's not actually a bad price for an immortelle fragrance. Usually they get very expensive very quickly. Immortelle is a very expensive floral. If I didn't tell you about immortelle, it's a very expensive floral. It's more of a yellow floral. It can smell aldehydic, but it's very unique, and it's very easy. It very easily can dominate a composition. And it is strong in this here, but I don't feel like it dominates at all. So that's one reason I think this is so well blended. We'll talk about the complement factor and gender, or thoughts about that later on. Overall, I do have to say that this is beautiful. If you're a leather lover, you might be interested in this. If you like honey and leather, you might like this. The honey isn't overtly sweet. It's a little, maybe the animalic is coming from the honey. Honey can come off as a little bit animalic, and that's probably where it's coming from. This honey is more of like an older honey. Maybe, it was left in the heat. Maybe it was left to suffer some of the weather and really just didn't get the, treatment inside a nice bee house or warehouse or something, because it's really lost a lot of its sweetness and it has a little bit of bite. Anyways, this is a really nice fragrance. Overall, very well done, very well composed. Kudos to you, Parfum d'Empire. I got to check out more of your fragrances. I think you did a wonderful job. Anyways, with the dry down of this fragrance and the smell of it, Again, I think it's very important to remember that there's not amber and that this fragrance does have a incensey overtone. But I don't think it's overtly incensey. If you're sensitive to incense, I don't think that this would scare you away, but you do have to recognize that this stuff does smell a little bit more exotic. This is not exactly a mass-appealing everyday fragrance, something that you're going to smell at your mall. This definitely is leaning on the niche side of things. Okay, let's talk about the longevity and the performance. This fragrance gave me probably average or maybe good projection overall. Sillage was actually quite nice, and this fragrance wasn't exactly the biggest shouter, but because it's distinctive and people pick up on it, actually seems like it performs better than it does, which is really nice. And it doesn't scream, so people pick up on it, and it builds the intrigue. When you're not shouting with a fragrance and people smell it in a natural situation, more in a natural or maybe gradual way, when they're having a conversation with you, it really adds to your character and your charm. And I really like that this fragrance is able to pull this off. Also, it's so nice because the longevity is great with this fragrance. This is a 8 to 10 hour fragrance in my experience. Some people claim anywhere from 12 to 14. So this is more of a 8 to 10 hour fragrance. It's definitely not going to underperform, but it doesn't exactly shout, if that makes sense. It lasts, but it's not exactly a shouter, but it definitely is very noticeable as a fragrance. Very nice indeed. So with the compliment factor, again, I talked about that this was more of a retro fragrance for modern to a lot of younger people who want their sweet fragrances, who want their tonka. For the for those who want their bubble gum and their citrus, this is going to be maybe smell too old to them. This is not going to be modern enough. This is not going to be playful enough, but this is a very sensible fragrance, blending the old and the new in a very good way. So who is this fragrance for? It's probably for somebody who likes more vintage fragrances, who wants something that's not too expensive, who they can wear all day, every day, 24/7, all year long, all seasons, and something that's going to smell quite nice, but not, modern really. It is sensible. It's not offensive or strange really to the modern nose, but you can tell that this definitely respects and pays homage to the fragrances of the past that were really well done, and this fragrance lasts. It's very well done, very well created. I think it's very nice. If you like yellow aldehydes and some of those more vintage fragrances, I think you're going to like it. In the past, in the past, probably like 1920s or 30s, with the honey in this fragrance, with the immortelle having, some florals, but still not being bright, or playful whatsoever, this still probably would be considered classically a little bit more of a feminine fragrance. We know that we really don't attribute fragrances for gender much anymore. So I think that this fragrance is perfectly unisex. And for my taste, I would like, something a lot stronger on the leather, maybe a lot stronger on the oak moss, with more of a classic fragrance. But if you like more of those modern unisex, modern takes on vintage fragrances, you're going to love this stuff. It's very wearable. I think that it appeals a little bit more to the modern nose because of that animalic, indolic honey that really adds a little bit, more sweetness and almost like a dry powderiness. It makes this fragrance a little bit more modern in that way, in that aspect. So overall, very well done. But if you're around the artistic crowd, if you're around the fragrance aficionados, if you're around, people who really know their fragrances, this might be very well appreciated and well received. If you're just going around the younger crowds, like a party, younger people, 20-somethings, this isn't going to work. So, but it is a nice fragrance. And again, if you absolutely hate amber, this deceived my nose, and you might like this one, even though it doesn't have amber in it. It might be an amber fragrance for those who don't like amber. It's really interesting to my nose in that way. So anyways, wonderful fragrance, wonderful smell, wonderful creation. I truly respect, this house for this creation. I haven't smelled a lot of fragrances like this, and I haven't smelled a lot of them that were so well done and so smooth. Very well done creation. Anyways, with the price, I'd encourage y'all to look up the brand. Sometimes people are able to sell these for discounted prices. I don't know how they do it. Sometimes you can find people selling these for around the $100, $120 range, but I think that these fragrances most often are $150 or so, maybe $180. So there seems to be a little bit, maybe there's differences in distribution on where these are sold or who gets their hands on these first. This is a really nice fragrance. This is a 50 ml here. And I'm not sure if they sell them in a bigger size. I think this is a 50 ml, and they usually go for around the $150 range. So definitely be looking out for the good price. Availability of these is not always the most readily available. These aren't always the easiest to find. But if you keep your eye out, sometimes these do pop up on the market if you're looking at the right places. So keep an eye out for Tabac Tabou. For my nose, for this exotic feel and incense, my heart is smitten with Timbuktu by El Artisan. I think that this is a wonderful creation, and that some people are absolutely going to love this fragrance. But for my nose, and especially for the price, El Artisan Timbuktu takes my heart. Anyways, wonderful fragrance, wonderful creation. Highly recommended if this is your kind of fragrance and your kind of thing. This is one of the best of this kind and this style that I've come across. It's a good fragrance for certain. So I wanted to put my review out here for y'all. I hope that y'all enjoyed it. If you did like it, please like, comment, subscribe, hit that notification bell, share the video, tell a friend, and of course, when you hit that notification, hit all notifications so you don't miss out on my regular content. I've been uploading very regularly. So thank y'all so much for being here today. I truly do appreciate it. And I'll see y'all next time, my friends. Wear what you love. Truly wear what you love and what you enjoy. And rock what you got. And I'll see you next time, my friends. And bye.